So, hello everybody. This is the 33rd discussion of our Read, Write, Inspire Classics Book Club. And today we are discussing Waiting for the Mahatma by R.K. Narayan. Uh, so, let me begin the discussion. I'll share screen and let's begin. So we'll see a little bit about the author, and being an Indian author, it's always very interesting to read about them and know how they came into, getting internationally published, and that too at such a different times. And we'll see the appreciation which he's got for Waiting for the Mahatma, the writing style, some of the themes which are commonly explored, and we'll also analyze a couple of questions, and we'll see some quotes from the book. So R.K. Narayan, the Indian novelist, was born in a Tamil Brahmin family on 10th October 1906 in Madras, which is now Chennai, in British India. So he was one of 8 children, 6 sons and 2 daughters. In fact, Narayan was second among the sons. His younger brother, Ramachandran, later would become an editor at Gemini Studios. And in fact, R.K. Narayan had also written a story which was made into a movie via Gemini Studios. It was the only one for which, I think it's the only one for which he lent his story. And the other one, I think Guide is the most popular one, which was made into a movie. But he's also written another story for Gemini Studios. And his younger brother, R.K. Lakshmanan, actually needs no introduction. We all know him as the cartoonist. So Narayan was an avid reader, and his early literary diet included Dickens, Woodhouse, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Thomas Hardy. So when he was 12 years old, he participated in a pro-independence march for which he was reprimanded by his uncle. In fact, his family was completely apolitical, and they considered all governments as wicked. According to Lakshman, the family mostly conversed in English, and grammatical errors on the part of Narayan and his siblings were frowned upon. So as his father's job entailed frequent transfers, Narayan spent a part of his childhood under the care of his maternal grandmother. His best friends and playmates were a peacock and a mischievous monkey. Actually, there's this book called My Days by R.K. Narayan. I'm not sure if any of you have read it. In that, it's a autobiographical memoir of his life, his early life, and then how he starts writing and other things. So in that, he speaks about how he was in his maternal grandmother's house, which is in Chennai and which is very close to the place where I grew up. And he talks about this peacock and monkey, and I can't even wrap my head around a peacock or a monkey being in that area. So because it's such a busy, crowded, and proper city place, so it's so surprising to see that once upon a time there was a peacock roaming around there, and there were monkeys over there, and they would visit his house, and they were his best friends. So Narayan moved to Mysore to live with his family when his father was transferred to the Maharaja's College High School. So the well-stocked library there fed his reading, and he slowly began writing too. After his school education, and he did his college, which he kind of stretched a lot, and he did for a period of 4 years. And he also held a brief stint as a teacher after that, but he did not like it. And he then decided that he would stay home and write. And his family and friends supported his decision. Narayan became a reporter for a Madras-based paper called The Justice. He joined this paper after he got married so that he can support his family. And this paper was in fact dedicated to the rights of non-Brahmins. So the publishers were so thrilled to have a Brahmin Iyer in Narayan, supporting their cause and writing for it. So the job brought him in contact with a wide variety of people, and he was also exposed to a lot of issues which is there in society. And all of those issues are what found their way into his books. Earlier, Narayan had sent the manuscript of Swami and Friends to a friend in Oxford. And about this time, the friend showed the manuscript to Graham Greene. Greene recommended the book to his publisher, and it was finally published in 1935. The book was semi-autobiographical, and it built upon many incidents from his own childhood. Reviews were favorable for the book, but the sales were few. Narayan's next novel, The Bachelor of Arts, which was written in 1937, was inspired in part by his experiences at college and dealt with the theme of a rebellious adolescent transitioning into a rather well-adjusted adult. It was again published by a different publisher, and once again it was published at the recommendation of Greene. His third novel, The Dark Room, was about domestic disharmony. It was showcasing the man as an oppressor and the woman as the victim within a marriage, and it was published by yet another publisher. This book also received good reviews. However, in 1937, Narayan's father died, and Narayan was forced to accept a commission from the government of Mysore as he was not making any money, and he had to support his family. Also interesting about Narayan is his own personal life. When he was vacationing at his sister's house in Coimbatore in 1933, he met and fell in love with Rajam, who was a 15-year-old girl who lived nearby. So there were so many astrological and financial obstacles, and actually Rajam's parents were not very keen on him, but still he managed to gain the permission from Rajam's father, and he married her. And they lived a very happy life together. But unfortunately, she died of typhoid in 1939, and her death affected Narayan deeply. He never remarried. He was also very concerned for their daughter Hema, who was only 3 years old at that time. And this bereavement brought about a very significant change in his life. And this was the inspiration behind his next novel, which was The English Teacher. So this book, like his first two books, is also autobiographical, but it kind of completes an unintentional thematic trilogy following Swami and the Friends and The Bachelor of Arts. In fact, Narayan, in one of his interviews, has mentioned that the entire book, The English Teacher, is based on his actual life and how Rajam's death affected him. And he just says that the only difference is the names of the characters, and that it takes place in Malgudi, the fictional town. Narayan received a lot of awards and recognition. In 1960, he got the Sahitya Academy Award for The Guide. When the book was made into a film, he received the Filmfare Award for the Best Story. In 1963, he got the Padma Bhushan during the Republic Day honors. In 1980, he got the A.C. Benson Medal by the British Royal Society of Literature. He was also elected as an honorary member of the American Academy of Arts and Letters. He has been nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature multiple times, but he never won the honor. And a year before his death in 2000, India's second highest civilian honor, the Padma Vibhushan, was awarded to him. In 2014, Google commemorated Narayan's 108th birthday by featuring a doodle showing him behind a copy of the Malgudi Days. Waiting for the Mahatma, the book which we've read this time, is a 1955 novel. It's written in the same usual R.K. Narayan's gentle comic style. It has one of the unusual features of this book is the participation of Gandhi as a character. His revolutionary ideas and practices are contrasted with the views of traditionalists, such as the town's notables and Sri Ram's grandmother. So one of the things which has been spoken about by the book was whether this note of ambivalence towards the freedom movement may be due to Narayan's needing to reassure his mainly British audience, because by now his books were getting published mostly in Britain and most of his audience was the British. So was it that he was trying to mellow it down a bit and not really show them in such a blatant light, was one of the things which is thought about. The political struggle serves as a background to Sri Ram and Bharati's unconventional romance, which is concluded outside either's family circle. So this is one of Narayan's most successful novels, where much happens behind the facade of the low-key storytelling. Usually, when you see about the writing style, whether it's for Waiting for the Mahatma or even otherwise, R.K. Narayan's books have this simplicity and clarity. In fact, uh, there are some of these instances where some famous writers have criticized Narayan's writing for being very simple and clear. But R.K. Narayan has always said that that has been his intention. That's exactly what he wants his writing to be, very easily accessible to anyone. He has a very lyrical and evocative way of describing small town India. And as we know, most of his stories take place in Malgudi. And Malgudi is this Finnish fictional town created by R.K. Narayan. Subtle humor and irony in his um, writing adds warmth and humanity. So he doesn't do this slapstick comedy, or he doesn't, it's not a laugh out loud comedy, but there's this subtle humor and irony which makes us feel the characters as very real and very human. So he also focuses on the everyday life and the ordinary people. There's a philosophical depth to his novels, despite it being very simple and on superficially. He delves into the complexities of life, morality, tradition, modernity, and personal identity in a subtle but very impactful way. And all his books are character driven narratives. Sometimes it might feel like nothing much is happening in the book, but the reality is that the characters drive the narrative, and that's what makes them very compelling to read. He also has this cultural authenticity in his writing. His writing is deeply rooted in Indian culture and ethos. He captures the essence of the Indian life, its traditions, values, social norms, and the everyday struggles and joys of its people with authenticity and respect. And sometimes, since these norms and these traditions have changed so much, I feel at times it also gives a little period feel to the stories, and maybe even some of the things which the characters say could feel not very politically right or not very socially right at the moment. But I think that's how they were, and he has just tried to capture that and depict that in his writing. The narrative pacing and structure of his books are usually very leisurely. He reflect and that kind of reflects the rhythm of life in the towns and villages that he portrays. His story structures are often very circular and episodic, emphasizing the cyclical nature of life and the human experiences. Um, and just like what I was mentioning about the criticism for Waiting for the Mahatma, so there has been a little bit of more than criticism, we could say that it's the feeling of most of those literary analysts on about when they read Waiting for the Mahatma, that it's a bit um, that has many issues of colonial ambivalence, I think. So the Gandhian phase of the anti-colonial movement for India's freedom finds frequent expression in literary representations of the period. So there was a large-scale support among Indians for Gandhi's intervention in civil disobedience and in the Quit India movements. However, R.K. Narayan's novel Waiting for the Mahatma reflects a certain ambivalence towards the freedom movement. So many were impressed by the more benign aspects of the British presence in India. And Narayan's own writing came to depend heavily on patronage by the British publishers and readers. So he was ostensibly writing for an English audience, and he could not upset the colonial English system that supported him. So there are many issues of colonial ambivalence in Narayan's fiction when we compare Waiting for the Mahatma with Raja Rao's Kantapura, which is what we've read, I think, a couple of years back, and in which we see the author's, commitment to the Gandhian ideology is more firm and unambiguous when you compare it with Waiting for the Mahatma. So what I'll do is let me just stop share now. And in case any of you have any thoughts to share about this, you may. Yes. Hi,
Yeah,
Tulika
madam.
or Shamil Raoji. Anybody wants to
No,
share
no,
anything?
let Tulika madam go ahead.
No, go ahead because I actually didn't like that book that much. So
Okay.
I'm like keeping quiet. I actually didn't like the protagonist to begin with, Sri Ram. If there was anything good in the book, it was just Malgudi
Bharati.
as a town. The
Yeah.
Bharati was very nice, but there was no romance. Like Wikipedia said,
Hmm.
their romance. There was no romance. I don't know why she was even interested in this useless chap.
Actually, you
I
could never understand. I mean, how could she fall in love with that guy? If it you can call it a love, or I mean, why did she marry
yeah,
him? In I mean, there was no. They were so different.
exactly.
Huh.
He was
No,
so
if
So,
driven and
you
focused, and
huh.
he was so whenever he met with a strong character, he became like that. When he met Bharti, he started spinning the charkha. Then he met Jagdish, he started blowing up here and there and putting like he forgot all about non-violence,
as
forgot
a matter of
Bharti.
fact, Sriram was after Bharati.
Exactly. But why did she
Because from the
agree?
very beginning, when she tried to collect some chanda from him in that market area, from then on,
Yeah, he fell
actually,
in.
he was,
No, he
that
was
was the
after
start
her.
point.
But I don't
Uh,
understand why she even bothered to marry him.
but
That
she
is the
has been
thing.
drawing
Yeah.
continuously, line after line after line. He said, these are the things, unless and until Mahatma clears, I'm not going to
No,
enter
but
into alliance with you.
if she didn't like him, no matter what the Mahatma said, she shouldn't have married him, right?
No,
But
there is no evidence of a conclusive marriage there. It is loose-ended. He has given permission subsequently. That is one of the defects of the story, I feel. There is no ending that they are married and happily lived after, that type of a thing.
No, but
There
then
is
they were
marriage.
no.
like
They
she
were
would
married
Actually,
never
at
go like Bharti was so devoted to so much to Mahatma, so
uh,
she would have married him eventually. I mean, you expect that, no? Because he said yes, you can marry.
yes,
So
I
yeah,
understand. It is an expectation from writer's point of view. Narayan did not conclusively say they got married. The story doesn't end that way. And that is
huh,
one
in
no,
of the
that
ma-
way.
criticism. There is no proper conclusion for the story like that.
I
Inconclusive.
would also like to
Somewhere
believe that she didn't marry him at least.
no. My issue is why did she even ask the Mahatma? I wonder
both of
why
them
did she
went
No,
even
no, no,
actually.
Tulika, here I know about this because
what?
Mahatma actually used to control the marriages, who should marry whom. Apparently,
Huh,
I don't,
but she would have
no,
gone to him, na? She he said I will talk to him. Why did she
huh,
tell Sri Ram I will talk to him if she didn't like him at all?
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct.
So that shows that
That
she
is the
was thinking of,
mystery.
yeah, that,
I just feel maybe she was so lonely. She's only, and this
huh,
guy attention probably felt different.
I
And it's
don't
been
know.
over the years he's been paying attention to her, so maybe that was what it was.
But
Yeah,
he is more
maybe.
ideological than Sri Ram.
Yeah,
More
yeah, definitely.
committed to
Sriram
Mahatma
has
Gandhi
no,
is CM
Very
is a peripheral
trust.
role, I find somehow. And if you look at it, the story begins with a single first sentence. I was very much affected. Very beginning sentence. You look at the brevity where he says actually. And he introduced Sriram in such a way that it's a single sentence, so you know what will be his status all throughout the story, how he will be reacting and other things. I will read out if you permit me. His mother, who died delivering him, and his father, who was killed in Mesopotamia, might have been figures in a legend as far as Sriram was concerned. In other words, he already is declared he is an orphan, only under the care of his grandmother. That means our hero is an orphan. That is how the story begins. So how do you
Yeah.
expect? That is what I felt actually. For instance, if there is no proper parental supervision, one can grow into this or that a weak personality that could be non-committal, running after money, easy expenditure. Compared to Bharati, actually, I don't consider him. He's a lightweight. Sriram.
Right. Actually,
But
I somehow imagined this to be a coming of age kind of story that he will
Very
be
correct.
Bharti and he will become
Ah,
responsible. But that just doesn't
ah.
happen. He doesn't. When she goes to jail, he decides he doesn't want to go to jail. Why?
Exactly. Rather, Bharati says, go and get into a jail and read books, Tulsi Ramayana, your language will improve and other things.
Yeah,
One of the
exactly.
places she advises him, go and read, get into a jail,
Yeah.
you'll have a lot of free time. Don't waste your time outside like that, she says. That means not only that, she also formulates his personality. That is how I found. Not only she is strong herself, she can mobilize and motivate others. She has got some, I don't know, she has got some leadership qualities also. Bharati is strong. Next to Gandhi,
Yeah,
I found Bharati is strong.
Correct. Bharati was a very good character. But
Ah,
Sri Ram, I didn't understand him at all.
Right.
What I heard was that apart, just like, Sriram is a depiction of many characters who had at that time joined, the freedom struggle or the Gandhi movement, or who didn't really do it because they wanted to, they were very worried about the nation or something. They each had their own, reasons for joining the freedom struggle.
Yeah,
Some of
correct.
them,
That might be it. Yeah.
so he was a depiction of one such character.
Now we can take like that.
Yeah.
That means who are not confirmed either this side or that side, wavering type.
So, yeah, so he's not a depiction of someone who is very, feeling towards the nation, or someone who's so patriotic to the thing, or someone who
Very
has
correct.
the same ideas and ideals like Gandhiji.
Very
So,
correct.
not really.
Maybe he was, his character was reflective of many such characters at that moment of time
Yeah,
in our history.
correct.
Very
Correct.
correct. Wonderful assessment. Very
Actually,
correct.
you expect that eventually he would become patriotic. I mean, that is how a character grows in a normal way, usually. But this didn't happen in this novel. That is what it is. I mean, he just remained the same till the end. There was no change in the personality.
Yeah.
That is the thing.
And there is an episode actually when he draws papers to quit India, he paints them and fixes on walls, pastes on walls. And there he thinks actually for quit India, so much ink actually that Q letter is consuming that will make use of Q to
Ha, exactly.
How do we reconcile these small things actually?
I remember.
I could not make out. If you are serious about it, asking people to quit India, you have to write a big list and big queue and then ask them to quit. And he compromises as far as the quantity of ink is concerned. I could not make out. Maybe it is some humor he wanted to add. And people ask, why you hate India? Villagers ask him. No, it is quit India. Like that, he explains to them. That is one thing.
And also, it's funny, there's this one situation where he says quit India and all that, and then there's this teacher who comes and tells him, we are still not ready for ruling ourselves and all that stuff. And then immediately he says, we are going to behead you. We have a list of you such people.
He loses cool actually. He loses his cool. And remember, he is dealing with that businessman, village businessman, that who sells small provisions.
Yeah.
I didn't find it mature actually. Maybe there is something. But Bharati is on the extreme side, my 100% votes to her only. I really like their character.
Yeah.
It is next to Mahatma, I felt, in that whole book.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, let me I'll share my screen. Mainly the thing is, it was very different from what we read, the earlier freedom struggle book which we read.
Madam, this is the second book we read of R.K. Narayan. English teacher we read.
No, we did not read.
We didn't read English teacher.
Oh, then I read it myself. Actually, I got that was a good book.
That was a good one.
Yes, a small book. It is very biographical.
Okay? Okay, socks mata out outre. Okay?
I think. Yeah. Right, we'll continue. Sorry.
Okay. That book is very sensitively written and biographical. That is a special bonus in it. And now we have learned from your side that it is his own story he has reflected on his wife's death. Beautifully written, madam. Small book like this, very sensitive book. No politics, nothing. No.
Okay.
It touches the core feeling of a human being. I like this.
I read it a very long back and I don't remember anything now.
The
It's
English teacher, it's a good.
Sorry, which book is this?
the
English
English.
teacher, madam.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, let me continue. Yes, Shamal Rauji, you wanted to share something?
We have covered R.K. Narayan, we have covered Mulkraz Anand, we have covered Raja Rao. So any other Indian writer we have to cover? I don't know about V.S. Naipaul and I don't know about Neeraj Chaudhary, whether we can
Kushwant Singh.
those old people.
Rushdie we should read, Booker of Bookers.
Okay.
Yeah, read
That is
the
all.
Victory City.
Victory
Of-
City.
Yeah,
Of Rushdie?
the new one. Yeah, that is
Even
very
I
good.
thought Victory City is very good.
Yeah,
Acha.
it's
Let
not
me
a very volume wise. It's pretty small, and it's about Humpy.
Okay. But he
Ah.
writes a very lengthy books. Rohit.
No, this is not. This is, I think, very much under within 400 pages or something, if I
Very
remember.
reasonable. Let me get
Yeah.
my hand on it.
Ah.
You've
Okay.
read Midnight's Children?
No,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
me.
You've read Suchi?
Yeah, I've read that, and then this one I have read. The other ones I haven't read because they all are the same problem, lengthwise, and of course, there is some bit of struggle while reading.
Correct. I've not read Victory City. I've read Midnight's Children. Then I've read Shame. Shame is a small one. That's also
Okay.
a easy read, and it's quite a nice read. It's a very different kind of a book. That was
Okay.
also okay. Yeah.
Same means, is it that Ladja, the Bangladeshi writer?
No. That is different. That is Taslima Nasrin.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a different one. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we cover Premchand?
We should.
Yeah, I'd love to read Premchand. Yeah,
Yeah.
some of his good
We
ones.
must.
Yeah, I mean, the way R.K. Narayan is to south, I feel Premchand is to the north. Like somewhat similar, I feel. The flavor and the society and all that, you get.
Oh, I would love to read it. Why don't we do that after Crime and Punishment? I'm sure it's going to drain us. And after that, we
Yeah,
can...
completely.
Completely.
Actually, Crime and Punishment in winter season is really going to be
a punishment.
Yeah.
This is a challenging read. It is a challenging read.
It's real challenge.
Yeah, but it's good. We wanted to do something challenging, right? So it's
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah, we are starting 2024 with a real challenge.
Very good.
Okay, let me continue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, R.K. Narayan's, some of these themes which are mentioned in Waiting for the Mahatma are also themes which he's covered in his other books too. So, especially in Waiting for the Mahatma, one of the things is he's tried to show transformational love. And like what we were just talking about, there is not much of growth in the character, but still I think there is some kind of personal growth which happens in Sriram. From being a person who does absolutely nothing and who has no focus, who in fact is also very asocial. He doesn't invite anyone for his birthday. He only celebrates with his granny and he has no relationship with any outsiders and totally dependent on her for everything. From that, he at least grows into a person who is living with others in a community, who is undergoing hardships, who's trying to better himself and change himself, though may not be for a very noble cause. He just wants to impress Bharati maybe. But still, I think there is some kind of personal growth which he undergoes from what he was in the start of the story. And another theme which he has explored here is the moral and ethical dilemmas of non-violence. So the challenges and dilemmas faced by individuals adhering to Gandhi's non-violent approach, especially when confronted with opposing views and with violent situations. So he's done it in a very subtle manner. But even otherwise, it's very difficult, as a person to be exposed to violence, being upon yourself or upon your family, but to keep quiet and not react in a violent manner to that, like a police lathi charge or something like that. So there have been so many instances of this dilemma in the people, in the common person, during Gandhian movement. So, and non-violence has been something which has been very nice to read about and very nice to talk about, but something which the people of those times have found as a very, very challenging thing to adhere to. So, though he hasn't, R.K. Narayan isn't really shown it in a very explicit manner, but still subtly he talks about it in various places. So one of them was just what we were discussing, where there are instances where Sri Ram just loses his school and then he forgets that he's supposed to be non-violent, and he ends up telling the teacher, I'm going to, we have a list of people whom we need to behead, and once we get our freedom, we're going to do that to you, and all this stuff. So it's funny how he's not able to keep up with it even in language. So what if violence was inflicted on him? How is he going to react? And also another thing in the book is how the role of individuals is, shown in historical events. So the novel subtly explores how ordinary individuals and their personal choices intersect with larger historical events, highlighting the human side of political movements. So through Sri Ram's journey, the novel explores the themes of political awakening and nationalism. And there are times when Sri Ram feels that, oh, I wish I was educated, or I wish I had stuck to my studies, or I had read a paper, or I had some amount of knowledge about what people are talking about around me. So it takes time for him to actually understand what's happening around him. And Sri Ram's character development is tied to his increasing involvement in the independence movement and his understanding of its significance. And though he doesn't really, even till the end, doesn't really realize it completely, but still a lot of it, a lot of his character develops through the story. And for Bharati, on the other hand, her entire life is shaped only by the independence movement. She loses her father and then she's brought up in the camp itself. In fact, she's named Bharati only by Gandhiji. So her whole life is kind of tied with the independence movement. And unlike Sri Ram, for her, it is her life. It is something by which she's bound, and she has completely, I think, assimilated the principles that Gandhiji advocates. So Gandhi's philosophy and influence. So in what ways does Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence and his principles impact the characters and narrative of the novel? And do you think Narayan portrays Gandhi's influence realistically? I just thought we can probably maybe just take 2 minutes and talk about these questions, because this is one thing which is heavily spoken about when it concerns this book. So waiting for the Mahatma, whether Narayan has portrayed his Gandhiji's influence realistically, because he shows that his granny is a person who wasn't impressed with that. She always felt that Gandhiji is a person who used to bring these, untouchables into temples, and he is this person who creates trouble wherever he goes. And she didn't even want her grandson to be associated with anything to do with Gandhiji. So what do you think? Do you think this is a very realistic portrayal of his influence? Please feel free to unmute yourself.
I think it does, because the strongest character for me personally was Bharti. And she was, as in people, I don't know, somehow Granny I can excuse, because old-fashioned people, I know they might not agree. And she might have a very, how should I say, it might have been in her interest to keep her grandson to him. So she will make light of Gandhiji. But I think it does, his influence does show through.
Yeah.
He never, like, at nowhere I felt that his influence, like he was being belittled or through anybody. So I thought it was there. Of course, there were that we are aware that there were a lot of people who did not agree with his thought. We anyway are aware of that because there were parallel movements. But I felt it was there.
But they portray how the parallel movements are not just parallel movements to get independence, but they seem to be parallel movements in support of the British also, right?
Where?
There's this thing where they have this loyalist meeting and all that stuff. Do you remember?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that was there.
I guess that was also there, I think, in some parts of the country, and also among some people, I guess they had that feeling, oh, we cannot still rule ourselves, we need them.
Yeah, that was there. That was there, and I think in a lot of books we have read. I think it was that, I think, Train to Pakistan. One of those books also, they say that what difference will it make to us? One person will go and another. In a lot of books you read that because for the common person, yeah, we get that. But
correct.
Yeah, so that we are aware of that. There were people who felt that it wouldn't make much of a difference to him, but I don't know.
And Narayan had a very opinion about Gandhi, and in one of his interviews in Frontline, it was published actually.
Okay.
And he referred to this particular book and also Gandhi himself. And that I'm having it to my friend. I was also actually not clear how come he said, because it's just thoroughly Gandhian book like that we had been discussing. And there he brings out an opinion quite opposite to that. For example, he says, let me say, even Gandhi did not inspire me much. We are thinking of characters that have been influenced by Gandhi in a book that is written by the author, and the author himself says actually Gandhi did not inspire him much. And then he continues saying, I admired him for the role he had with the public. He had perfected the technique of controlling a huge mass of people, sometimes 300,000 or 400,000 people listening to him. And they would do just what he wanted to do. And I did not much care for some of the things he preached. I did not believe in his hand spinning and anti-industrialization. Nehru was also opposed to those ideas. So how can we take on this premise Narayan was a Gandhian?
No, Narayan was not a Gandhian. Actually, he was a very, let me put my head down and just write. He was that kind of a person. He was basically apolitical, I feel, himself.
Yes, that means I will accept this Gandhian influence on our Raja Rao, actually. He was thoroughly, in that book he has written, he was speaking of Gandhi's ideals, principles, etc. practices. And to an extent, even Mulk Raj Anand, untouchable also we have read.
Correct.
Yes.
But as far as this Narayan is concerned, I do not feel he comes into that line.
Yeah. No, he wasn't a Gandhian.
No, and he has written. I will put that link here because in the afternoon I got it. How come I'm putting it in the link? You can see later on at the time. Start. I'm putting it, please.
Yeah.
This may help. Put it. Here he is not. In the Hindu, it has come, madam. Frontline, the book is there, magazine. And he has covered several points on one is nutshell. R.K. Narayan in the first person, and it contains the photo of himself and Graham Greene, who was his mentor for all purposes. There he spoke on his writing. He spoke on writing in English and on the writer's struggle and on the creation of Malgudi, you just referred, and on changes in Malgudi, on Graham Greene, and then on Mahatma Gandhi. He has several aspects he has stressed. It's a valuable article. And that is directly from the horse's mouth. He himself has said it. And there he has specifically mentioned also that the English teacher his own story in a way, what Madam has just said.
Okay.
So you will have a fair idea of the writer once you go through this link. So that is what, and as far as Gandhi's influence is concerned, Bharati is 100% influence. There is no doubt about it. And the other characters, that one who operates telegram and other things, he is under influence of Netaji. That speech also he reads out. Remember that day he is asked to write it down. The Sriram was asked to write. So Gandhi's effect, which has fallen only on Bharati, 100% she is committed as far as visible characters are concerned. Maybe there is individual influence somewhere in the situation, other thing.
He does talk about a couple of characters, like those who had participated in violence, but when they speak to Gandhi, they cry about what they've done and all those things. We do see Gandhi's influence there, but
yes, it is permeating whole of the book that I accept.
Correct.
But you
but
can't
there are a lot of
pinpoint
characters.
and say this character is specifically affected or influenced by Gandhi's idealism like that. That I will put it for Bharati actually.
कलर चेंज हो गया बाल का
मेरा ब्लैक कर
Okay. So let me continue.
Minoxidil लगा रही हो? Minoxidil लगा रही हो? नहीं?
Hello,
yeah.
I think I kindly I'm just leaving and then again you add me, okay?
Okay, Suchi. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay. So yeah, like what we were just as what we were just discussing, I think Narayan, in a way, he has given a lot of importance, I feel, in the book to characters who question the Gandhian principles, maybe, and which isn't wrong, because there were many of them who were questioning it that time and who did not believe in the possibility of India's self-governance. And also he does talk a little bit about the initial problems which were there, where there is no oil available, no sugar is available, and there's shortages, and there were issues with the new nation. But he also through Jagdish says, yeah, these are things to be expected and it's okay, kind of a thing. But I think some of those things which were probably not brought out in books like by Raja Rao or others are kind of certain things which he has tried and showed here. Not untrue, but yeah, maybe a little bit to satisfy the publishers, maybe, I don't know. So continuing with this, yeah, I have some quotes here. So if you have any other quotes also, please feel free to share. One is always better off with money unspent. And it was very interesting to see how his granny wants to give him the money, but was not allowing him to spend the money. And a kind of sweet and a very realistic portrayal of, it was nice. And what a dangerous thing for such a beauty to be about, he thought. And that was also very interesting to see how people thought differently at those times. And despite them having such thoughts, for Bharati to be out and about and doing all the things that she did. So as we were just seeing, she is probably the real hero of the story. And he felt like asking, who is Bapuji? So she says Bapuji is sleeping and we shouldn't disturb. And he's never heard this word before. So who is Bapuji? So that is the level of his ignorance about Gandhiji when he initially joins. I too wish I could be with you all and do something instead of wasting my life. For her, the Mahatma was one who preached dangerously, who tried to bring untouchables into the temples, and who involved people in difficulties with the police. So this is with what her granny hears, that he's gone for a meeting where Gandhiji is there. How many of us could have the privilege of being so near the Mahatma? You must be happy that he is doing so well. Our country needs more young men like him. This is when the teacher tells the granny that, he's there with the meeting and all that stuff. But she is actually very angry. And Granny replied, "It is teachers like you who have ruined our boys and this country." So this whole exchange between them is kind of like so realistically as a granny, yes, she's going to be selfish and she wants him. So yeah. The Mahatma said, God is everywhere. And if you want to feel his presence, you will see him in a place like this with a beautiful river flowing, the sunrise with all its colors, and the air so fresh. Feeling a beautiful hour or a beautiful scene or a beautiful object itself is itself a form of prayer. Though the Mahatma's physical presence was no longer with him, Sri Ram had a feeling that his movements were being guided. Again, this was very interesting to see, where many places, I felt this was one instance where he was trying to better himself. So though he wasn't with Gandhiji anymore, he felt still his actions were being guided by, oh, this is what he would have wanted me to do. This is what I should be doing. And what will happen, sir, if they leave? Who will rule the country? So this is one of the questions which Sri Ram is asked. And he says, yes, we will rule ourselves. And it's after this that he has the conversation with another teacher who says, it's not that I don't want to see our country freed. I am as much a patriot as you. But honestly, do you think we are ready to rule ourselves? We aren't.
Yes.
Don't delude yourself. We are not ready yet for anything. Let this war be over and you will find me the first to fight for Swaraj. Patriotism is not your monopoly. Again, another interesting thing in this is that yeah, generally there was this feeling among the people that having being in the war, since the war was going on, they had this feeling that if they let the British go, Hitler would step in and Hitler would start ruling them. So they had this feeling, and that's also something which they discuss after, very shortly after this particular quote. He says, oh, if the British go, Hitler would come and you are going to be the first person who's shot. And so maybe that was also another feeling that people had, why they did not want the British to leave during the war itself. Be careful, you will be beheaded when Britain leaves India. So this is where Sri Ram loses his cool. Yeah. So, and this is the time when he's completely confused about why he is doing whatever he's doing. So he says, Reverend Mahatma Ji, he starts writing the letter. I don't know why we should bother about these folk. They don't seem to deserve anything we may do for them. They sell and eat foreign biscuits. They're all frivolous-minded, always bothering too much about a young scamp who has climbed a tree. I left out a couple of sentences which goes on about what is the problem, let even if the scamp dies, he deserves it or whatever. Then he says, they will thank us for leaving them alone rather than telling them how to win Swaraj. They simply don't care. At this very moment, I find them engrossed in preparing for a loyalist meeting. What I want to know, my Reverend Mahatma Ji, is, and then he stops the letter. He wondered what it was that he wanted to tell the Mahatma Ji. What was really the problem? So it shows that there were many of them who did not really, know what they were fighting for. They did not know what was exactly the problem. What are they supposed to do? And he's an example of one such character. So these were some of the sources for it. Let me stop sharing. Yes.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks, Shamal Rauji.
Thank you. There is one more quote, first related to the first thread.
Yes.
That says, there is nothing so fleeting as untethered cat. There is nothing so fleeting as untethered cat.
Cash. Oh, okay.
Cat. Yes. First paragraph. That means that his granny advises him. So any cash that is there, you put it in that post office only. You can't say you have to tether it there like that. That is one quote. And other things you also found repeated. And the Subhash Chandra Bose, the talk I like.
Yes, correct.
That actually it's one of the longest paras and dialogue, whatever you call actually. He came very clear in his point. That's I like. It was intentional, that paragraph. at least if we have Gandhi on one side, accommodation was made to that for the Netaji to put for these points of view on the other side. That I like. There is some balance when he brings Gandhiji at par with Netaji, or Netaji at par with Gandhi. That I like. The Indian Army, I guess. That is one good thing.
There was one more thing also about the money when you said the untethered cash. So there's this thing where he's thinking about marrying Bharati and and telling his grandmother that he wants to marry her. Then he knows that his grandmother has some person in the village whom she has fixed for him, and the sentence goes that who will look after his cash or something like that, who will take care of his money or something.
And Granny coming back from the cremation ground is also different, something else. It's novel.
Yeah, that was completely scary and so different.
She comes back and she will not be allowed to enter into the village.
Yeah, that is again so sad.
It hurts actually. Anyone who has come will be feeling happy in the present circumstances, present days. One who just touched his death and comes back to life. We worship and we welcome them. At that moment of time, they were ostracized. They were put away from the village. And finally, she ends up somewhere in Benares or somewhere there. That is a tragic character. But for all the work she does for Sri Ram, her character ends in sorrow.
Yeah.
That is one thing.
What happens to the house actually? He goes back to the street. It's still on rent, is it?
It was rented out.
Yeah.
Somebody and he gets surprised. Someone else was sitting on that veranda. Someone else was playing with those chairs in that garden. It was rented out to someone else.
So he doesn't even go there, right? He just leaves.
No, he stays outside.
Correct.
The ending is actually quite open-ended.
Yeah.
That is what I was going to say. Loose-ended. Whether they both got married, we do not know. Where house has gone, who has taken on rent, who has given it on rent, we don't know. And
that guy gave, no?
Yeah.
On rent.
Yeah.
That general merchant store guy.
Correct. But the store itself is no longer there, right?
The store is gone.
And store is no longer there.
So when is the rent that means going? Who's taking the rent? Who's sending it to Benares? No idea.
No idea.
No, that general merchant guy was kind of a caretaker for them, no? For the family.
But in the end, Suchi, his shop is gone, right? When he comes back.
He's not there.
Shop will not be there.
Shop is not there. Maybe he just...
No. Maybe he's still taking care of it. That's a possibility. Yeah. We have to assume, actually. There's no mention of...
We have to assume a lot of things. But I felt that they did get married because Gandhiji says, right, and Bharati follows his word like anything, like the law. And he does say whether I'm there, I'm not there, whatever it is, you should not back out of it. You should definitely get married tomorrow.
I knew he was going to die when he said, I'm not there, then also you get married. It's like 100% he's going to die now.
I was, in fact, that whole setup itself, I thought he's going to die. Before telling them get married, he's going to die. I thought that.
My God.
Luckily, that did not happen. That did not happen. That last paragraph, it reads like this. The Mahatma patted her back, threw a smile at Sri Ram, and hurried down the passage. He walked leaning on the shoulder of his granddaughter. Sri Ram and Bharati followed, their heads full of their plans. Positive. Mahatma took out his watch and said, I hate to be late. As they stepped onto the lawn, Bharati said to Sri Ram, let us attend the prayer today. There is a place for two of us. It is a crucial word, sentence. There is a place for two of us. So we have to present, got married subsequently.
Yeah, so for all practical purpose, 31st January is their marriage anniversary.
Marriage, very correct. You are wonderfully chronologized it.
I don't think so at all. They would have gone straight after Mahatma's death and gotten married.
That was Mahatma's last wish.
Yeah,
that was Mahatma's last wish.
Exactly, that's what it's very confusing. Did they or did they not?
But madam, there is another important thing actually. Graham Greene played a very important role in R.K. Narayan's literary life. They were friends.
Graham Greene.
Yeah,
Graham Greene. If it is not for him, you would not have seen Western audience his book. He has given so much support actually. I read a few of his letters. Green to Narayan and Narayan to Green. This depth of understanding, depth of support Narayan has received from Graham Greene is unparalleled. Number one. Number two, Shashi Tharoor has written very caustic commentary on this Narayan. I don't know whether I come across books in Baghdad like that he has written.
Yeah, I have read that book.
That actually he has R.K. Narayan, somehow the old man was unhappy. Like that he has commented also in that.
Yeah.
And he writing style was commented upon. His story building was commented upon. Yeah, it was really harsh. That is what I felt. Because we have gone to
I read few excerpts from that. Yes, it was
from
very
that book.
harsh.
Book very harsh. It hurts actually. The way he has put it, it is not. Somehow I didn't expect it from him.
Yeah.
Bookless in Baghdad. That is the book.
Oh.
Yeah. He had some. I think he had a point to some extent because I think his language is very. He must have been the Chetan Bhagat of that time.
Correct.
Putting his head down and writing.
Yeah.
I think more like Sudha Murthy, na?
Correct. Exactly. Sudha Murthy.
Correct.
Where, yeah, absolutely. That's right. So, yeah, I guess why Shashi Tharoor wouldn't have, because he was very apolitical. He says that I never lack inspiration. I just sit down and write. There's no, I somehow don't find him to be excited about his work. How most writers, like, they really, he never wrote for, or maybe except the British audience, he just wrote. There's a lack of passion. It's like a very routine activity, which somehow I find odd because writing, I feel it should excite you, if not everybody else. At least your writing should excite you.
Correct.
But with him, he seems a very bland person. He would just sit and he would just write without, like, so which is why I'm not like, I can imagine why Shashi Tharoor would say those things about him.
Correct. And that's what Shashi Tharoor was also, I think somewhere R.K. Narayan has also mentioned that he doesn't read much or something like that. So that's also.
He said it actually. I don't read. And he said, what is style? He asked. What is style? He asked in one of his to an interviewer.
So that was another thing which Tharoor felt very strongly about. What is this?
Yes. In that article, 4 pages only mentioned about R.K. Narayan, you can get an idea of what Tharoor thinks of his writing, Narayan's writing, or about Narayan himself. Finally, he says actually, his stories are comedies of suffering rather than tragedies of laughter. That is what he commented. Comedies are suffering rather than tragedies of laughter. And he has said it is a pedestrian writing. That word also used. Somehow I felt it very hard. It hurts. Our own people writing our own, particularly when he is with Graham Greene and he was second. So the possibility of getting it to Nobel Prize, I don't. But not acceptable.
Correct.
It was a very harsh. But look at Graham Greene, the way he conducts himself. If you put both the people on the side and Narayan in the middle, look at Graham Greene was very supportive. He was his character, his name. He has truncated his name. It will be very difficult to British women to pronounce so big a name. He constructed it. He said, you put it R.K. Narayan. And certain titles of books also he changed. And editing, corrections, other things also. And about writing stuff, he also commented. But it was in a very positive way. Not like Tharoor. That's what I felt.
Correct. In fact, one more little tidbit was that his name is got a very huge name, R.K. and all stands for something.
Yes,
and it was Graham Greene who mentioned, who asked him to shorten the name, and that's how it became R.K. Narayan.
Yes, it's very correct, madam. He has given a reason for it. But British women will not be able to pronounce your so big a name. You put it this way like that. He has played a very important role in R.K. Narayan's literary life. His books got printed there, and he was sending checks also. If you read R.K. Narayan, this Graham Greene's letters, manual, there he was sending the checks also from the publisher. If this publisher was not ready, he was touching the door of another publisher, have it printed. He was very supportive. That we have to accept.
Yeah, very, very true.
Ah.
R.K. Narayan's house, in fact, had come up for sale, and the common public and I think some organizations and all, they had chipped in money. They bought it and they made it into a museum.
It is in Mysore now, madam. Mysore
Yeah,
now.
it's in Mysore, and the museum is actually free for anyone to visit. There's no charges, nothing, and they've done a fantastic job. So I had an opportunity to see the place a few years back. 7, 8 years back. It's amazing. You should, if in case you all are in Mysore, you should definitely go and pay a visit to that place.
All his books are placed like that, I was told.
Yeah,
the books he read are also available.
Letters are there. Some of these letters between Graham Greene and him are there over there. They've just, as far as possible, they've kept it untouched. So all his stuff, his things, everything is there over there. So it's as a house itself, it's very nice and beautiful, nice place to visit. Yeah. Okay, so our next book is Crime and Punishment.
Crime and Punishment, yeah.
So actually, January 26th is
I got the same copy. I also got the same copy.
Yeah, I got the same copy too.
Then we are in the same, all on the same boat. Because this I found it. And there are 3-4 translators, but this book they said is the best one.
Russian copy.
Oh,
this is a
copy,
old Russian printed copy also I have.
The translator is that Fever?
No. This is translated by somebody else. I'm not planning to read this. So Julius Katzer.
Okay. This is Richard Fever and Larissa Velocis, some name. Name.
So this one is considered as a very good translation of Crime and Punishment. And
exactly.
and I read some reviews which says that it was so difficult to read, and then we shifted to this translation, and then the book went by much better than what it was before. So that's one good thing to.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yes.
I bought it at your recommendation.
Yeah, I was just, that's why I wrote about it. So I was trying to decide which one to read. And the other one, I forgot the name. So that is the one which is usually available everywhere. The other translation. So this one, I think, is a much newer translation. So it's not so much available everywhere. But anyway, good. So we have our next book. And so as I was mentioning, the last Friday of January is actually January 26th. And I was wondering if, being a holiday, you might be busy, all of you. So should we just keep it for the next Friday after that, which is February 2nd?
Yeah, that will be good. February 2nd, yeah.
So let's do it February 2nd then. That might be better then. And for February being a short month, maybe we can choose a Premchand then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be good. We'll do that.
Oh, goody. I'll read in Hindi also. So far.
Premchand. But Premchand novel, or you want to do short stories?
Anything. If there is a very...
Let's figure it, yeah.
I think we can also do short stories also.
Exactly.
I think.
So far, we have not done any short stories.
Yeah, we have not done any short stories. So if
let us go ahead.
Short story.
Let us go ahead.
Compilation. How do we do short stories? But Suchi, what is your idea? Should it be the same kind of a compilation which everyone does? Or
that is the best.
It has to be the same. Otherwise, we won't be able to.
We won't discuss, no? Yeah. There are some good stories like Idgah, Budhi Kaki, and
Namak Ka Daroga.
Yes.
I read lots of things.
Wow, good.
So,
Suchi, we'll leave it to you only then. You, Suchi and Tulika, all make a decision on which is the compilation we should read, and then we can pick it up.
Okay, that will be better.
We can get in touch with you, and then we take it from there.
Yeah. Sure, so then we can share the copy which we were planning to read, and we can all pick it up the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thanks,
Thank you all, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Tulika. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.